Hi, this is Bonnier Fishing Editor Chris Woodward. I'm here today with fellow editor Randy Vance.
Hi there. How are you? I'm the editor at large for Sport Fishing, Saltwater Sportsman, Boating, and Marlin Magazine.
Today, we're sitting down with the folks from Regulator Marine to talk about some of their purpose-built center console fishing boats. We have with us Keith Ammons, who is Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and David Clubbs, who is Director of Engineering. Welcome to Fishing Roundtable, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, let's start with the new 37, Regulator's most recent introduction, most recent model. The 37 shows us some brand new features for Regulator, including MyHelm technology. Keith and David, can you tell us a little bit about the development of MyHelm?
Yeah, so MyHelm started a couple years ago, maybe pushing 3 years, and we really wanted to integrate a simple, intuitive user interface that added value to the boat, made the boat easier to use, but yet still maintain enough reliability and be able to service the boat. We really wanted an all-in interface for our customers, so useful life on the boat was just easier, and we didn't compromise any sport fishing attributes or any other compromise on the boat. We just wanted a well-rounded, useful system that brought everything on board in one simple interface.
How does it work? What would I see if I walked on the boat and took a look at the helm?
Here, let me start. I'll tell you, Chris, when you first walk on the boat, it's very intuitive, like my truck. Whenever I first got to go to it, I thought of my truck. In my truck in the parking lot, I simply hit a button and locks, or I double hit that button and it unlocks and everything turns on. It's the same thing now. Now you got a key fob. You're walking toward the boat. You hit the button. Everything turns on for you. Your battery switches turns on for you. And you get to the helm and there's an interface that's very intuitive. You can touch and do anything you want. So I call it auto-like is really what it is. And David can tell us a little more technical what's going on there.
Yeah, so it is automotive, Keith. We wanted it to be, our customers are used to smartphones, smart homes, watches, cars, and frankly, that the boat's the dumbest thing they buy, right? So it is very automotive. It has a lot of familiarity with what we see as customers in today's marketplace. And the interface is through the Garmin. So it's not a separate screen. It's all integrated into the boat. All the systems can be activated or accessed or reviewed or monitored right from the Garmin. Just the same way you're going to look at your transducers, your radars, your FLUPs. And it's an all-in-one system because we didn't want to have different interfaces for different systems because then it gets cumbersome to use. So it all had to have the same look, the same touch, the same feel. Even on every page looks the same. So you're not having to get used to a different graphic package because as a user, when you turn on your phone, you're used to seeing certain things that are traditional, no matter what application you're on. We wanted the same. We've kind of been trained that way as users now, and that's what we wanted to integrate to the boat scene. So it is. You got a key fob on, key fob off, all the stuff that you would have to normally go through checklist in your head of things you're trying to turn on and off before you depart or leave the dock, either leave on the boat or leave the boat to go to dinner. The boat takes care of itself. So.
When I ran the 37, what I noticed about it was that your most used switches were right there on the bottom of the screens all the time, easy to see. Your interface at the top to change pages was also easy. A lot of people's hang up on this new digital switching technology is how quick can they access things that they need to use. And it was quick. I mean, to me, I could find what I wanted on there. I've got a row of switches on my boat that long, and it takes me longer to go down the line and find what I want than it did on your system.
And not only that, Randy, there's other switches throughout the boat. Like in a real life scenario, I'm on the boat, I'm in the back, sitting at the back fold down seat or whatever, and I want to operate the water pump, or I want to operate the macerator pump on the fish box. I have a button right there I can hit. So I can do it without ever bothering the captain, or yet the captain can do it right on the interface right up there as well. So by our engineering team, David and his crew, moving these buttons around to locations on the boat where they're really useful, it does become very easy to use everything on the boat, whether you're at the helm or whether you're not.
The 37 also incorporates a completely new seating and tackle center. Where did that come from and how is that developed? And will it translate to some of the other models in the line?
That's a good question. So we really wanted to pack as much stuff as we could in this boat. And that meant we had to do some innovative things below the deck. And then still we wanted good service and good maintenance access to everything. So the rear seat, mezzanine, helm seat, tackle center combination was the perfect access to a lot of space that's otherwise unused in the these boats. So we managed to move some tanks around, 507 gallons of tankage. The gyro sits down low in the boat for good CG and very accessible. All our systems are there. Beneath that area is also a really water resistant compartment, we'll call it. The front of the cabin is watertight, but that area is the pump room is a lot drier environment than, say, the lazarette of a boat, where a lot of other systems may be in other boats. So on a dry area, much space as possible, good access and good service. And it just made sense during that design spiral that it needs to be right here for center of gravity, for different fuel loads. The fuel tanks are on a CG, so if you burn fuel, you're not trimming, the boat will come up and down evenly. Performance is going to be the same at all. All that stuff we had to think about during the design side, and the innovation is where it all came together. And the result is also a pretty good seating situation with great access.
Did I understand, we're seeing Seakeepers more and more. Did I understand that boat is pre-rigged for Seakeeper, whether you get it or not?
It comes as an option. Your option is without Seakeeper. And if you choose without, Randy, you got this big storage area down there, dive tanks, whatever you want. A ton of space in that pump room is opened up. Or you can choose Seakeeper ready so that you can add Seakeeper in the future, building resale value in that boat long term if you want. Or you can just choose it with Seakeeper already. So really, without Seakeeper ready or Seakeeper.
Now you access that Seakeeper actually through the same MyHelm system. Mm-hmm. Two questions. Will the Seakeeper, how many boats in the line do you think you'll soon add Seakeeper capability to? And with respect to MyHelm, how far back through the line will that go?
Let me answer your Seakeeper question first, and we'll dig more into the MyHelm on there. The Seakeeper comes standard on the Regulator 41. It is an option or Seakeeper ready option on the 31, 34, and 37. So you have the 4 boats that have Seakeeper. We don't offer it on our 28 and smaller at this point right now. The MyHelm is standard on the 37 and is also standard on the 41, 2022 moving forward on that. So I don't know how far back we're going to go. Maybe you know a little more about that, David. Maybe I can learn something here too.
We're working on it, Keith. We haven't quite disclosed it yet, but we see that system growing quite a bit. It makes the most sense with the boats with the most systems. Just like you said, Randy, you end up with a row of switches, and it's cumbersome to operate. So the smaller the boat, obviously the less systems, you really have less of a need for it. Although everything being standard electronics package, it's not a hard switch for us to flick to put it on other boats as we develop it further.
What about the tackle center? You were talking about the seating and about the big boat pump house, but what about the tackle center? What have you done there?
Now the tackle on that 37, Chris, is on either side, port and starboard have a tackle center. There's actually more space tackle-wise in that 37 than the 41 by having those 2 big units on the side. They kind of come in behind the pump room there. So that's the standard. You have the option to trade one of those tackle centers out for a grill, fridge, and then you're going to lose part of the tackle, but you're going to gain the fridge and the grill. But yeah, you just access it from the side.
Well, that's a different way to do it. Where'd you come up with that, David?
Well, again, it came down to space utilization, and we wanted a good mezzanine, rear-facing, comfortable seat with air conditioning, and we wanted triple seats across the helm area. And when you have the raised helm section for good visibility, you obviously end up with some geometry that really lends itself to a lot of space there on the side of the tackle center. We needed the extra depth for fit all the equipment, the air conditioning, the gyro, the pumps, and the fuel tank access, and we just ended up with real estate, and we optimized the use of it. We got custom cabinets in there for multiple different tackle configurations, and it's really can be, the way we set it up, Keith, is for the customer and the end-use fisherman to rig how he wants to. So it just ended up being part of that evolution, really.
Okay.
You mentioned geometry when you were talking about that mezzanine seating. One of the things that I noticed when I sat in it was its geometry is actually better than most I've been in. Too many of them, you sit in that mezzanine seating and you feel like you're leaning aft and you're going to slide out. You got just the right angle on that even when the boat accelerates, you feel comfortable in it, like you're not going to slide out. You guys put the pencil to that one.
Well, we pencil it first, and then we spend a lot more time later with after tooling and the first plugs come out and really designing in the cushions. There was a lot of time spent in ergonomics of seating on every regulator. So yeah, that's a good call out, Randy.
In my real life thing, Randy, we were doing our dealer event in April with this boat down in St. Pete. I was sitting there with my sunglasses on, just waiting for other people to talk and take turns driving the boat. And I kept finding myself sitting there with an air conditioner blowing right on my back.
Yeah.
Off in that seat as I was doing it. It is a very comfortable seat.
Well, truth be known there, Keith, we actually changed the seat cushion after the boat got to Tampa anyway, because we wanted one more little tweak to get it just that much better. So I've got a spare seat cushion we have no use for if anybody needs one.
Well, you've obviously put a ton into this brand new model. Could you describe, how this evolution happened? 30 years ago, boats were very different from what they are today. Describe the evolution from then to now and how your models have progressed.
So boating has changed, Chris, over time. And Regulator is an expensive boat. We have to constantly show value. One way that we show value is leading in innovation on the way. One of the things that I'm very proud of, if I here at the factory, I have 6 people on the whole sales and marketing team here. That's what makes up our team here. When you go over to engineering, you got like 15 of them over there. I think that's very reverse from most manufacturers out there, where the sales and marketing and rep team is much larger than the engineering team. And by Regulator investing in David and his entire team, it's constantly bringing innovation. We got a lot of great minds over there and a lot of certified engineers, real engineers, degreed engineers working on things. And I think that's what's going to keep Regulator in the forefront of constantly making those changes in it, like the MyHim you mentioned, like the pump room and the other stuff.
So, and part of content and purpose design of these boats, we've always been a sport fisher at the roots. And then the first 26 that Joan and Owen put together, pretty much themselves and a couple of folks there, it had a full head inside the console, which was kind of unique in its day. We always wanted to cater to the family sport fishing fishermen without compromising any of the fishability on board. And as the product grows and the market grows and diversifies, we see guys that are strictly sport fishing, and we see guys and gals that are more luxury, right? So we end up with both sides of it. And some say we try to split the middle, but we don't really. We still want to appeal to the men and women that are hardcore sport fishermen, but we also have some more multi-purpose features and content on board, like the Seakeeper early optional grill. And it's up to each customer how they want to rig the boat, because it's not specific to any one person. Everybody has a different agenda on what they want to do with the boat. We don't want to compromise our sport fishing roots, because that's who we are and it's what we're the best at. But we also are trying to be aware of other concerns and other opportunities you can do in the water, because life on the water is so much more than running the fishing grounds and back. As much as we all love that side of it, there's other aspects to it that's also equally enjoyable.
That's one of the things that Regulators always got a really good ride. And one of the things, when Chris mentioned the evolution of the brand, one thing you guys have stuck with for ever since I've been following the Regulator brand, well, 2 things. It's A, Yamaha, and B, transom brackets. Mm-hmm. Let's kind of talk about that.
Sure. And actually, we had a customer touring this morning, and I just spent time out on the floor with a customer sharing. And the brackets are here. They're here to stay. We believe the performance you see in Regulator is because of that bracket. 3 things I would say look at if you look at the bracket, Randy, on the side of the boat. You'll notice the bracket is 2 or 3 inches higher than the actual keel. So it's up a little bit higher in that. And then the bracket's not level. It actually sits at an angle up when you come to the back of the bracket. What that does is when the boat is sitting stagnant in the water, we're sitting stationary, we're adding flotation, we're giving attitude for the boat, and it's lifting the back of the boat, which helps on your whole shot and everything else when you take off, number 1. Number 2 is, as soon as you get on plane, if you watch a Regulator go by or you look at an aerial view and a photo from the air or whatever, you'll see the brackets not touching water at all. So now we've gotten 36 inches or so of clean water to our props. The third thing on here is, since that thing is angled up and we're up, when a boat goes through the water, it creates a hole in the water. Of course, as soon as you go through, that hole starts filling back up as well. These guys have figured out that if you offset 36 inches, that hole's going to fill up about 2 inches. And you see our motors are mounted about 2 inches higher than if they were attached to the transom in a Euro turned down transom or some other kind of transom. And that 2 inches dictates or turns into less drag. So now we have less drag because we have less motor in the water. We got clean water across their back on there that way. And it's like Archimedes, we learned when we were in school. Archimedes says, give me a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And if I get a bolt that I can't get moved, I just get a longer wrench so I get more leverage on it to break that boat loose. And whenever you look at where the center of gravity is on the boat and those props being removed back by a bracket, you're creating a longer lever, and that's where that performance comes from.
And then the Yamaha relationship.
Yeah, well, it's long-term. Matter of fact, Joan and Owen Maxwell, the owners of the company, are in Kennesaw today, down at Yamaha, down there visiting, or they would be joining us here. It has been a long-term relationship. There's 2 of our boats over in Japan that get tested on. Right now, there's a shortage of Yamaha motors in the United States, or the shortage of motors across the board, as you guys probably are very aware of. Regulator isn't suffering in that shortage right now. We're getting from Yamaha what we asked for and what we plan for. So that is part of that partnership, not only getting motors right now, but the long-term planning when they develop their product, knowing they're using our product to test on and do some of the stuff. So we're very excited to be an exclusive in a long-term 30+ year partnership with them.
Yeah, and Yamaha's innovation second to ours. I mean, just like with brackets, where we have a lot of things on the boat. We're generally heavy. Considering our competition, we get asked all the time, why are we so heavy? And usually like to say, well, you're asking the wrong question. You need to ask what everybody else is leaving out. We got a lot of stuff we got to get moving. The brackets help. We spend a lot of time on seats. We spend more time on bracket design. And same with the engines. They're innovating along with us as partners. So the electric integrated steering, the Hellmaster situations that we're in, they're now the advanced autopilots, and their whole different level of EX, they call it EX control, really enhances that ride out to the fishing ground, just like everything else we talked about. So the engine, its control, its smoothness, its reliability, the power, the larger diameter propellers, we're getting the exhaust gas bypasses for Hellmaster control. All that innovation just makes everything come together. And the fact that we have that relationship, we know in advance what Yamaha is working on, so we can be prepared for it from a new model standpoint. And we can really leverage all those features that Yamaha puts in there. So it's a really good partnership, and they're excellent quality and longevity in the boats too. So
now on you talk about product integration. I mean, a lot of times, depending on the boat you're looking at, what you bolt onto it is about 25% of the cost. And I'm talking about electronics and radar and things like that. And you guys factory install all that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we do. We have, for example, like Garmin. We have partners with Garmin now. It's a younger partnership than what we have with Yamaha, but the young partnership is doing stuff. So when a customer buys a Regulator boat with factory installed Garmin, they get a 3-year warranty directly from Garmin on that. If they go buy it over the counter, they get a 1 year. If they buy from a master technician somewhere else, they get a 2 year, but they get a 3 year from Regulator because we have a couple of Garmin master techs on our staff, and Garmin is in our house every week to 2 weeks. They're here visiting and doing part of that. And it's part of that total integration and getting involved with them in a true partnership that allows that to happen. And of course, Garmin sees value in it because they offer the extra year warranty you can't get other places.
Well, as a boater, I see value in it too, because I've worked with some brands that don't want to install factory equipment. And to me, having you guys go through it all is far preferable to me buying my boat and having some guy in the back of somebody's boat shop start cutting holes in it and running wires. And then you develop a warranty problem, and it's everybody pointing fingers at everybody else.
All right.
3-year warranty and integration system just makes that, in my opinion, a better deal, a more comfortable ownership equation for the owner.
It certainly has its positives. Before we get away from the bracket and the engine situation, I do want to ask an additional question about hull characteristics. David, what are some of the hull characteristics that you feel define the Regulator ride that we hear so much about?
That's a good question. So we've been partnered with Luke Adiga since the start. He's such a brilliant naval architect, and he's designed every one of our hulls. So the dead rise distribution as we go from the 24 degrees aft, and it gets steeper as it goes forward, and how that gets steeper, where really can impact dynamic stability. And so as the whole bottom dead rise works to the steeper angles at the stem, you can really get some some dynamic situations going on that Lou has really mastered. And the angle of the strake, the size of the strake, the size of the chine, angle of chine, knocks the water down and gives you dynamic stability, both on plain straightaways and in hard turns. But you don't get any slamming because of it. So there's, too much width on a strike or too much angle here or there will really make it pound, and you end up with your teeth rattling, right? But Lou has got the secret math to that, and he's really dialed our holes in. And then, the weight balance. So Lou does a hole while it's a collaboration, because he's doing hole design and we're doing system and structures, and he does a lot of that with us too. So we actually get to balance where the center of gravity is on the boat, with the running angle, where the stagnation line is going to be, how the boat's going to sit, and all the intricacies of a good running hole form has to happen from right where you're going to put, the holding tank to what the dead rise is right beneath it, and all the way back, and length to beam ratios, all this. So again, we know we're heavy because we put everything in there. We don't leave anything out. And we have to have everything come together to get a good ride, a good speed, economy, and good performance and handling all around. So it's not just one thing. It's all those little details of we're crunching.
And that has to change every time the technology changes and people add things like seakeepers and generators to increase amps and all kinds of different new products that are being introduced into boat hulls these days. I'm sure that's quite a challenge.
Exactly right.
What models would you say in the Regulator line are probably the most popular among fishermen, and why?
Oh, Sal's going to take that one.
I do, because I follow this demographic very closely in all of our boats. Our 28 has been our number one selling boat for a very long time. Our 31 was introduced 4 years ago. And just this past year, our 31 just barely passed up our 28. And we're seeing trends this year that the 31 will become our most popular boat in the design and what it's done, especially with 425s. Added some real pop to that boat to do it. So from a fisherman standpoint, from just a volume standpoint, it's still the 28 and 31 are the two leaders out there. That's where we see most people using things and stuff that way. Our XOs, the 24 and the 26 XO, the crossover used inland, has got great popularity, but they end up being a very good mix. You see those boats inlands and in other places in coastal area, but it's a lot of sandbar time, a little bit of fishing time, and that's a good mix of the boat. And then, of course, our big boats, the 37 and the 41, are deep, go offshore. They're luxury with the big cabins and all the other stuff on that. But I would say our 28 and our 34 lead the pack from what everybody's doing out there.
Are there particular reasons why? Is that just a good price range for most anglers out there?
Well, it's a good fair price range, but even more so, they're versatile, because I feel comfortable myself handling the 28 or the 31 by myself. I can get it in and out, especially with the Helm Master, in and out tight locations, at a marina, on a lift, or whatever it happens to be there. When you start getting above that to the 34, you can do it by yourself, and people do, but it becomes more challenging to boat by yourself, because now when you're at the helm and you're trying to pull up and you still got to get to that back cleat, you got 3-4 steps to take. On the 28 and the 31, you can easily get and throw and move. And, you can be on the 28 and be by that side cleat and grab something pretty easily on a dock when you get up beside the dock. So the ease of use of being able to do it by yourself and maneuver that. So even in my case, I can take 4 buddies with me that don't know what they're doing. They just want to go out for a boat ride or go fish. And I can feel okay because I can still manage, and I'm not going to depend on one of them. Because if I get on the 41, you almost have to depend on a person to grab your bow when you get up there stuff. It's a little harder to do that way. So I think that would be the primary thing. And I think what you said about money, it's a good bang for your buck in that middle category to go do. And both boats are fully capable of running 100 to 150 miles offshore, fishing hard all day, and then running 150 miles back. You got the range and speed and the comfort level and the weight to do that in those boats.
Great. What are some of the options that fishermen have come to favor most? What do you see them asking for time and again?
Well, one thing that came up new this year is, as we constantly are innovating, and David and his team are innovating, like the electric reel plugs. We're seeing the deep drops become more and more popular out there. Or people who want, kite rigs and other things, you're seeing those become more popular on that way.
More refrigeration.
We see that. We've added refrigeration to our boxes now for That to go, we've added live wells. That's also new coming this year because we got a lot of requests for live wells. And of course, like the rocket launchers and extra rod holders are common things. One of the things that's been a home run hit that I think our engineering team and David and his team did for our 37 was that rod storage in the bottom of the 37. It's air conditioned, carpeted, nice rod storage where you can lock them up in there, lock your console and walk away, and your rods are in there nice and well kept in that way. And from a sales guy, that's one thing I hope more often, David.
Yeah, we like rod storage. Rod storage, we, like you said, Randy, we started doing the navigation stuff standard, right? So that used to be a really high option take rate. Now it's standard and more rod holders, more live wells, yeah. And then we still have optional outriggers. It's a pretty heavy take rate on the taco riggers. Almost everybody's getting the riggers. Again, these are true fishermen and women at the root here. And so anything that's a fishing accommodation, we're usually going to have a pretty high take rate on. We've seen trends with, we just added live wells, like you said, and then more and more refrigeration. It seems to be that we're running farther, we're running faster, and we want ice to last longer. We want to stay out longer. We want to run to more exotic fishing locations, islands, the Bahamas, all this. And so getting things that can remain cold and power management is a big thing for us, and loading up with plenty of power on board. I mean, the 37's got a 13.5 kilowatt generator in it. When the gyros, we've seen a lot of gyros come in too. So we're just seeing more long range, long distance customers come into the brand now, which is exciting for us, and we're being able to accommodate their needs.
Randy, when you were running the boat, what were some of your favorite features that you saw?
Well, it's a 37-foot boat, but what you look at with the bracket, it's like 40, almost 43 feet from the stem to the back of the motors. And down there in Stewart was a really tight marina. The combination of the joystick and the bow thruster gives you a lot of confidence in working a big boat in a tight area like that when there's a lot of money floating around you. So that was pretty impressive. Certainly the helm seating with the ability to have people on either side of you. You had 2 footrest options, the standing footrest on the helm, and then the fold down. And those are simple things, but all throughout that boat, you find simple things that add to its utility. That's kind of what I observed.
Nice. So do you have any predictions for where we'll be 5-10 years from now? I know you can't tell us about new models, but just in general, the market, the marine industry?
I see the push coming to make a boat more and more versatile. It's got to be able to go to the sandbar on Sunday afternoon with the family, but yet head 100 miles offshore to hardcore fish. And then you got to be able to pick up and have wine and cheese at sunset to go down to your favorite little tiki bar or whatever it is. It's got to become versatile because people are, they're still hardcore fishing offshore, but they want to do other things as well.
This year has been kind of strange with COVID and how it's really done a lot for the marine industry as far as growth. But so it's hard to really pick up your own trend lines and continue through this last 12 months. But like Keith said, we want to be versatile, but we don't ever want to compromise our sport fishing roots. And so the stuff we do has to be wisely versatile so that you have all the sport fishing amenities, and then there's still more. You can't have either or. You got to have everything and more. And so when we try to build that in, just like the 37, we want to feature pack this boat with feature content and add a large list of options so the customers can configure their particular boat to their particular needs. But at the same time, we don't want to compromise deck space. We don't want to compromise the walk around gunnel heights and the amount of rod storage. And we want more of that stuff. And so as we grow the brand, like Keith said, our popular boats are the 28, 31 and starting to become 31 or 28. The customers are looking to go farther. They're looking to go more exotic locations, and our brand really caters to those type of dreams. And so our boats are kind of getting bigger, and they're getting more yacht-like. And as we see the big inboard diesel boats and the maintenance and upkeep and the draft, and they're not as quick and they're not as useful. We're seeing some guys come from the sport fish side of it down to outboards. And so we're trying to answer that with bigger center consoles. And
thing I'll leave you guys with, we have a very robust factory tour program. We had a couple here from Stuart, Florida earlier this morning. the facility. I know that you guys have been here in time over the past. I would encourage you next time you're passing through Eatonton, North Carolina, come see us. We'll roll out the red carpet. We'd love to show you the place. And for all your fans out there and all your readers and watchers, we invite them to stop by anytime. We love to show off the spot and let people see the inside of things and pull back the screen and let them see what goes on behind the scenes as well.
How can our fans and readers get more information about Regulator? What are the best ways to access information?
Well, of course, the best one is regulatormarine.com. So they can follow us on there, or they can go to the website and they can get all the stuff there. We have our factory phone number. They can call and we'll answer the telephone and talk to them that way. Of course, on our social media channels, they can follow us there. We're constantly releasing information that way. So those are probably the best places.
Are there boat dealers listed on your website?
There's a boat locator. You simply put in your zip code and it will tell you the dealers closest to you. And we have dealers all around the world, but especially up and down the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. Got a couple of dealers on the West Coast and then several international dealers as well you can find on there.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us on Fishing Roundtable. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.